truly a regional system, truly a regional approach. It was not the cabinet up in Edmonton deciding land use for Peace River one day and Medicine Hat the next. That's central planning, and it's never worked, and I don't think we should try and see if we can make it work here. This notion that we have rapid growth, if you go to the government's own document on Sustainable Development Resource Site, you will see that in fact British Columbia has higher growth than us. And I know when I met with Minister Mel Knight, now Sustainable Development Minister, I said, why are you doing this? And he said, well, we're growing. And I said, okay, so why are you doing this? Well, we've got population growing. I said, every country in the world has population growth. Like, do you guys not get out? It's on the front page of the National Geographic 2 months ago. Population is going to hit 7 billion. You don't see Ontario running around saying, oh, we must give massive centralized powers to the cabinet in Edmonton, take away protections from the courts, take away people's rights. It's an urgent situation. This is a false dilemma. It's a false dilemma. This is not a justification for this policy. So we can do better regional planning. Just put back in the regional planning commissions. It would help diffuse all this tension you see around Edmonton and Calgary for sure. And that's what the senior planning experts are telling me, both within government, who I won't name because they'll probably get fired, but and in municipalities. Cumulative effects management. They make this sound so darn complicated. Imagine you got 200 head of cattle that you got to take out to a pasture. You got a bunch of different pastures that you can take them to. And you know you got this one pasture that can hold 250 head. Okay? Do you walk up to that pasture and go, I'm not going to look to see what's there. I'm not going to look. I'm not going to look. I'm not going to look. No, you look to see what's there. You see you got 50 out there, you got 200 to put in, you're good to go. We do cumulative effects decision making all the time. The reason Alberta Environment doesn't do cumulative effects decision making is because the government told them not to. That's the same reason the ERCB and the NRCB don't do it. They're proposing to create this super ministry, super bureaucracy that's going to be supposedly independent of government, which I don't understand how it can be, but anyway, that's what the regulation says. And they're going to do all this cumulative effects management. They're going to bring in all these scientists, and they're going to set all these levels and thresholds. I guess that's the threshold that guy who's going to come and run your farm is going to be using when he shows up. But, you know, come on, cumulative effects management isn't that hard. Let Alberta Environment do it. They want to do it. They've got the data. They're looking at the project anyway. Let them do it. You don't have to create all kinds of new laws and flush all of our rights down the toilet. Water allocation. Minister Knight said to me, and I've heard it from Mr. Berger and all kinds of stuff, they say, well, we've got scarcity of water in southern Alberta. Well, no kidding. Guess what? Why did we redo the Water Act in 1995? Because we knew there was a scarcity of water in southern Alberta. That was the whole reason for it. And a lot of us put a lot of work into it. And within that legislation, we developed a system of transferability to allow market and reallocation of water to higher uses. I've talked to a number of people involved in irrigation districts, and they've told me none of their transfers are allowed to go ahead because they all have to wait for the regional plan process. So everything's been put on hold because of this. We don't need this huge bureaucracy in sustainable resource development. Let the people in Alberta Environment, let transferability work, and we can address the water allocation issue. Conservation. Who's against conservation? I didn't think anybody put their hand up. I wasn't about to put my hand up. You know what? They talk about tradable development rights in this legislation. They make it sound like they've invented this circular thing and a little hole in the middle, and they're thinking of calling it a waheel, right? No. In 1963, New Jersey put in tradable development rights. And they've been in place in every U.S. state ever since. And not in one single instance did they do it through the equivalent of Bill 36. They did it through the municipal government legislation, and they let local governments, through that legislation, create tradable development markets, and let market mechanisms work the way they should be. Why are we trying to do it totally different? You don't need this legislation to achieve conservation goals. So I close with this. This legislation is regulatory taking on steroids. The only way to fix it is to repeal it, and I think that's what the government should do.
Thank you, Keith. Now you've heard the other side. Okay, so next on the agenda, coffee break. You get to stand up and stretch. So it says, they told us for a half an hour, but we're going to cut you back to about 15-20 minutes because we were a little late starting. And then we'll have the question and answer period.